So my name is Jeremy Mitchell. I've only been up here for 3 years-ish, right? So I'm still learning all the lingo. So let me see, Jasmine, you can grade me on what I say here. I'm a person in long-term recovery. What that means to me is, I've been, clean from drugs and alcohol for, this year will be 16 years. So, very blessed with that. I am the executive director for His Way, which is a Christ-centered recovery program for men. We offer 3 versions of the program: 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, in which not only do we have Bible included in teaching them about God, but we also help them with financial literacy. We help them with their court situations. We help them find jobs, and it's all inclusive. We deal with families. And so we're kind of down in the trenches with them. His Way started in Huntsville, Alabama back in 2007. I actually went through that program myself. Here in Atlanta, we moved up here, three and a half years ago to start this program. Came out here. We have 13 beds that we can fill. Our predominant funnel is through Forsyth County drug court.
Yeah.
So I spent a lot of time visiting that particular facility, Seth, which is a beautiful thing. We just recently got GAR certified, and so that's exciting. And we feel incredibly blessed to be a part of what y'all have got going on here. So we thank y'all for allowing us to be there. And we also, our facility in Huntsville was at 13 beds here in Huntsville. Between residents and staff, we have roughly about 60 people in recovery living on that site. So between the 2 facilities, we're hitting, in the 80s. So it's really exciting. We're just excited that we're here and that we're growing and we're learning. But I'll tell you, changing from one state to another state, there is a lot to work through and figure out how people do it. And so Tiffany came to me and said, "Hey, guess what? We're hosting Faith and Recovery Collaboration at our place. And by the way, we need to teach something." I was like, "Oh, shoot." So I let Tiffany pick the topic. And so, that's a fun exercise. And she picked a fantastic one. But with this topic, I was like, "Oh, wow. We really bit off a little bit more than we could probably chew in 30 minutes. This is definitely a topic that we're all passionate about, and we could honestly hold a seminar just on this particular one. So there's a lot on these slides that we're going to go through. I'm not going to be one of those people that's going to read the class to you via the screen. We will talk about a couple of things that show up. You're welcome to have these slides afterwards. We're going to talk about Bible as well, that is not on the screen. So if you brought your Bible or you have a Bible app, that might be beneficial for you. But we're dealing with understanding how faith reveals our calling and motivates recovery. So I guess the first question I have, when y'all came here, did y'all know that we were going to have a Bible quiz?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's go down that road. So what's the biblical definition of faith? It's where the faith and recovery collaboration.
The substance of things hoped for and evidence of things.
There it is. And where is it? Maybe y'all get gold stars. It's coming. Hebrews, yeah. You might know the chapter.
11.
11?
Yeah.
1. There you go. See? And so one more time, Jasmine, say it nice and loud.
Hebrews 11:1.
No, well, I know that. She was quoting it. I was going to let her go ahead and say it
Faith
loud.
is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not
Right.
seen.
It is the substance of things hoped for, is the evidence of things not seen. You can change it.
You get that VIP pass when you get that.
I'm telling you, man.
You can skip a lot.
Well, you see, it's so interesting. Man, y'all just did my heart good, because it's so interesting that you'll sit in circles, like this, and you'll say, "Okay, so what is faith?" And then you get a lot of different answers, right?
Okay, so I was not the man for this job there.
I think if you just do the arrow
I
buttons,
tried it, I must have fell asleep or something.
right?
That's it.
Yes, it is. So I do need it. I don't have all this memorized. So faith helps refrain our struggle is a part of a bigger journey, right? It's it's so core, you know, there's so many different elements to addiction itself, right? We have, and they're all represented in here. You know, you have mental health, you have hereditary, you have, we have the disease concept, we have faith, there's familial issues, cultural, economical, there's all kind of things that you can address this issue with. But one of the things, even the big book says, we suffer from a spiritual malady, if y'all are familiar with that. And so with our particular program, we do put a lot of emphasis on dealing with that aspect, right? And so much as it says, you know, come to believe that a power greater than ourselves can restore us to sanity. Just having this faith in something that's greater than ourselves. And one more time, Jasmine, out loud.
And faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen.
Right. So it's the substance of things hoped for, right? So what do our people hope for?
A way out.
A better life, a way out.
Consequences and stuff.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Having relief from the consequences. You know, and I think by not drinking or drugging, that they can have that opportunity. Which is huge. And they have, you know, say it one more time.
The faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen.
Yeah, that's what they hope for. And it's based on evidence that is not seen. So what have they not seen?
Hope,
Okay.
covering.
Discovery. Connection. So relational, yeah, all these things they haven't seen. And quite frankly, I don't know about y'all, you know, 16 years ago, I went in to the program, and the thing that I had never seen in my life was long-term recovery. Right? I had seen it. In fact, I was in a family meeting. My dad asked me, said, it was the most honest I'd ever become, AJ. He said, can you honestly tell me that you'll never drink or use drugs again? And I said, I can't promise that. So what I can promise is I'll do the best that I can. Right. And by the grace of God, I'm still here today. But they have evidence. It's just not in their lives. Their evidence is us. People in long-term recovery, people that are willing to get in the trenches, people that are willing to walk alongside them. For me, when I was in early recovery, it was a guy that was 6 months sober, you know, and had a job. That was what I consider long-term. Because like, wow, man, he's a welder. He's got a car. This is amazing, right? Like, can I get to these points? And so it becomes, when we have that faith, it reframes it, you know, as a bigger journey. You know, a lot of our guys, you said, I'm sorry, what is your name again? Krista, you said that anxiety, that fight or flight, right? And response that we typically have. You know, this greater journey can create fear or it can create excitement, but we all kind of understand that when we get into this early on, that it is a bigger picture. And we want to encourage reframing this is a bigger journey and not just something that's small and isolated. Recovery is not just about leaving something behind. It's about moving towards something greater. Anybody got their Bible on?
Yeah,
Huh?
on the app.
On the I could turn through this Bible. It might take me a little bit longer. We'll be in Philippians chapter 3 here real quick. Like I said, there's a bunch of slides here, so I'm just going to go as long as we can and respect y'all's time, and we'll just end whenever that happens. But in Philippians 3 and 13 and 14, it says, brothers, I do not consider that I've made it my own. But one thing I do, forgetting what lies behind and straining forward to what lies ahead, I press on toward the goal for the prize of the upward call of God in Christ Jesus. Right? It's this focus, and I'll tell you, I know this might be a shocker based upon my appearance, but when I was in addiction, I used to like to ride Harleys. Anybody ever rode Harleys before? Motorcycles. All right. Now let me ask you a question. If you want to go left on your motorcycle, where do you look?
Go left, I look left, but I steer right.
Yes, you have to push, not pull, right?
You got it.
you know, when I went through learning how to ride a motorcycle, they basically told you, said, wherever you look, that's where the bike's gonna end. Okay, so if you're focusing on the tree, where's the bike gonna end up? Kissing the tree, right? So you always take the focus. It doesn't mean this concept in dealing with faith does not mean that we do not deal with our past and we work through it. And that is a big part of it, cleaning our side of the street and those kind of things. But we need to direct our focus towards this larger journey, towards this freedom and helping them to see what's ahead. Because whatever they're looking at is where they're going to be, right? You know, I don't know how y'all are in recovery, but I didn't get sober my first swing at it. Does that make sense? I kept kind of going back and getting up, falling down, getting back up and all of that. And a lot of that had to do with my focus and my intention was primarily on the problem, and there wasn't a focus on a solution. And so what faith provides is a direction towards a solution, and a sense of purpose fuels motivation, perseverance, and resilience. With faith creates direction. And with direction, we can find a greater purpose. And with that, we can have motivation, right? So everybody, how many people in here like what they do for a living? Do you know how many rooms that if they did all raise their hands, I would think that they're lying to me or their boss was in them, right? There are many people who go to work that can't honestly say that, but y'all can honestly say that. Why? Because you have purpose. Because what you do holds meaning. And so regardless of what's going on, right? What are you going to do tomorrow? You're going to get up, do it again, right? And so that faith that you have, engaging in that faith creates that purpose, which creates a direction. And life becomes bigger than who you actually are, right? This is absolutely crucial. Go ahead to the. So how can knowing God has a plan change your approach to recovery?
Not limited anymore.
Okay, not limited,
Something to strive for.
something to strive for.
Knowing you're not alone and you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you.
Mhm.
I'd also say is, you know, I kind of had to get to this place when my purpose lined up with his purpose. That's when my purpose doesn't go away.
Yes,
It's got to be much deeper.
absolutely. Something great when it aligns with something that's greater than you and your thought process and your ways, right?
When we talk about like, you know, self-centeredness, you know, at the root, at least in the 12-step world, they talk about the root of everything is the self-centeredness. You know, when I talk to guys, I talk about this surrender piece. Well, self-centeredness and surrender don't really go hand in hand. You know, I've got to be letting go of something in order to actually hold on to it, which is really counterintuitive. Right? I don't appreciate anything unless I'm willing to give it away. And so getting to that space, I think that's kind of what God's invitation is, right? If you let go of trying to control the outcome of your life, you can probably have a more fulfilling life than you would even realize. And so, at least for me, that's kind of what my recovery experience has been like.
Absolutely. Well said. I'll tell you, for me, I said this, we had a SWAT meeting yesterday, actually, here with our staff. And purpose, I said, in many ways, what God has provided for my life through my faith has been a salvation of sorts. Because nothing trumped the purpose, right? So when I feel like acting out or being selfish, like Seth was talking about, self-centered and doing things that I want to do, or it saved me from making some really bad decisions, you know, or especially early on in recovery when I was 2 or 3 years sober. And, you know, you have a really pretty day and you've been a little bit stressed and you're like, hey, you know, nobody will know, those kind of thought processes that come up. And so it's beautiful. So have you seen examples of purpose in your own recovery journeys?
I say, what a great way to serve God, knowing that you're with other people and you're just, whether it's fellowship, whether it's in your professional life, whatever it might be. We're serving God, which is the command, it's what we need to do. And we do it because God loves us, and then we want to do it. What else? That's the best purpose. It's to serve.
Yeah, I find it so interesting that, AA has a saying, what is it? You can't keep what you have unless you what?
Give it away.
Give it away. That's from Genesis to Revelation. Right? It's to serve, to give, to be a part of something for yourself. And, and I tell y'all, I feel very humbled to be in such a great room of people that do some pretty phenomenal things, that are incredibly talented. And then there's this simple old country boy in here with you. And it's a beautiful thing. But what this purpose has also done for us is it's created those connections, right? In that community. I always find rooms like this so interesting, because if we did not have a common faith and a common mind on certain things, would we even know each other? Right? Would we even agree outside of our own faith? Because we come from so many different angles towards recovery itself. I think that faith is really the binder. So faith provides meaning and direction in the chaos, right? Faith offers a sense of stability and guidance when life feels uncertain. We have, how many people in here in long-term recovery had an easy path towards where they ended up? No takers, no takers, right? And I'll also tell you that in my recovery, I'll give you, if you can read James chapter 1, the famous couple verses, right? I think it's 2 through 4. But as she's getting there, I'll tell you a story. My wife is from El Salvador. She's a Salvadoran citizen that are doing mission work. Right? And there was 6 months because, believe it or not, I have been a little bit infamous myself, so the government didn't believe that I was doing ministry, and so they made it a little difficult for us to be together. And so there were 6 months that we were living in different countries. My wife had a tragic accident. Okay, she shattered her pelvis, punctured her bladder, and fractured her femur, and she was down there. They were saying that she would never be able to have children, and never be able to walk again. Okay. Which I did not find acceptable. What do you think went with me when I went down there to get her?
Fear.
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 You said fear?
Anger.
God.
Doctor.
Believe it or not, this is the craziest thing. I used to be a very, very angry person. I wasn't angry, and I didn't have time for fear.
Yes.
Yeah, no, those are really good guesses. I had never considered. It's like, it's kind of crazy that I wasn't angry. It was just about solving problems, right? It was going down there, and I prayed to God, and I got her back here by the grace of God in 7 days. She can walk again. We have 3 beautiful, healthy children after this. Nothing they said amounted to a hill of beans. Okay. But at the end of the day, my faith got in the plane with me. Does that make sense? My relationship with Christ got in the plane with me. My relationship with Christ almost got me arrested at the embassy, because I did not want to accept the answer that they were trying to give me. I did the persistent widow, right? That faith, the education through the faith. I did. They would tell me one thing at one gate, and I'm like, well, I didn't get that right answer. So I go to the next gate, and they said, well, no, you're supposed to be at that one. I said, yeah, they didn't give me the answer on it. And I did this all around the embassy. Things are going to happen. Go ahead and read it.
Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kind, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Perseverance finish its works so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking it.
Yes.
Yeah, it's, things are going to happen, and it's our faith, it's very interesting. I'm going to try not to nerd out, okay? Because I'm trying to keep it very surface level with this, because I know that there's not a lot of time. But do y'all know that the trial in that chapter and tempted or temptation in that chapter is the same Koine Greek word. It's parasmos, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. And it's interesting because it has to do, one goes towards your completion and your success, and the other one goes towards your failure. And the main difference is faith. Do you have faith in God and something greater than yourself that can carry you through that successfully, or are you being self-centered and self-preserving in that scenario, right? Because it says it leads to death. And so, you know, faith, when we go through this, faith is a real component. I have told guys, it's like, you know, there will come a day when you walk into a gas station, right? And there will be nothing standing between you and what's on the other side of that glass, except for your relationship with God or your faith, right? There'll be a time when nobody's looking and you're sitting there and that monkey gets on your back. And unless I'm wrong, I might be the only one that struggled in that way, but you know, I had one time I got dropped off at a place to do some work in early recovery. I was less than 6 months sober. They left me there overnight by myself with no food to work on a floor or something, and it was at a resort. And there was a gas station coming in, and I saw it. And I'd been working all day in the hot sun, you know, and doing this. And I convinced myself I was going to walk to the gas station to get some pizza and some Gatorade. And about halfway, it was about a 10-mile walk. I didn't realize how far this was. I started thinking, you start turning over, you know. And I remember walking, and I prayed to God, I said, "Dear Lord, I don't know what you got to do, but you got to do something, because if I walk in there and there's alcohol in there, I'm going to drink." And I got all the way in there, and what do y'all think I discovered? There wasn't a stitch of alcohol.
Dry county.
It was a dry county. There wasn't any alcohol. And I was kind of low key mad, right? I went and I paid, you know, I paid for my pizza, my Doritos, and my soda, and did a pouting walk home. I worked that whole night. I went back to the facility. Everything was fine. I was safe. The next weekend, somebody from the center went over there, did some work. They got kicked out of the program because they got teetotal and drunk. There was liquor in the place where I was at, in all the cabinets, and I never even remotely thought to open a cabinet. Sometimes God does for us what we can't do for ourselves, and having that faith, and also too, you know, scripture, prayer, community help clarify purpose and confusion. To give you, I mean, this is what's so beautiful. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto your own understanding. Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. Isaiah 41:10. Joshua 1:9. Have I not commanded you, be strong and courageous? Do not be frightened, and do not be dismayed. We did Hebrews. Psalms 37:5. Commit your way to the Lord, trust in him, and he will act. You know, rejoice in hope, Romans 12:12, rejoice in hope, be patient in tribulation, be constant in prayer. You know, just adding this faith as a part, you know, in my own recovery journey. Yes, I have experienced and worked through 12 steps on many occasions. I've gone through MRT, I've done many different things. But the difference for me in this journey that has blessed me with 16 years is that faith has been a focal point of that process instead of separating. Go ahead. Think about a time when you felt lost. Now faith helped or could have helped you find direction. Share if you want.
I think for me, at least, like you mentioned, wasn't, so I'm 10 years going on 11 now, and like that initial step for me in recovery, I wasn't surrendered. My focus wasn't pointed in the right alignment. And same thing, hit my head in the same spot over and over again. Before finally, I think, getting to that space of surrender and being in line with the purpose that I think he always had, like, in my opinion, always had for me. I just wasn't willing to take the path.
And I think getting to a place of brokenness or lost and all that, like, finally got me to that place of like, all right, I can't do this. So I think just getting to that space, and always having the seed of faith in my heart and in my, just in my being, allowed me to get past the feeling of loss and get back on track. And so I think that would be an example for me.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing.
So it says, or could have helped. Well, I think about all the times like I've worried or, like about little things or even big things too, and God always works them out for me. And so that gives me it gives me faith now to move forward, but I can think about a time when my faith wasn't so strong. And all those things just constantly were working out regardless, and all the worry and stress and all that was for nothing.
All things work together for good for those who love the Lord and are called according to his purpose, right? I actually, by the way, I call her my boss because she keeps me organized. I drive her nuts. Because she does the worrying for me. And I just kind of loosey goosey, just kind of like, yeah, it's gonna be okay. Would that be a fair statement?
It's very safe.
It'll work itself out. It'll be fine. Yeah, I think it's important. I mean, we have both in all of our lives, right? Where we could have had faith, we could have been, putting in the time and creating that direction, and things happen. And, we didn't have it versus, there are times that we've gone through, like the one with my wife, that was one that it was very faith driven. So it worked out really well, but there's a lot of, 7 years trial and error and failing that, I was going to do it without God. Right. Cause just so you know, I was raised in church. So the last thing I ever wanted to do was go back to a church. And I had the style parents that said, well, if you just come back to church, everything will be okay. And I'm like, there's nothing magical about a church pew, And so I tried not to engage that. And then, and there's what they meant was relationship with God can change the entire situation. And crazy thing is, I hate that this is going on YouTube because, if my mom watches it, she's going to hear what I say. Believe it or not, the craziest thing is they were right all along. And if I could have just dropped the pride and picked up some humility, I could have gotten here a lot sooner. But I didn't get here because I'm a super intelligent person. Go ahead. The next is empowering leaders to help others. Ephesians 2:10, for we are God's handiwork created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do. We're all designed to do something. And I want to put this here as well in Titus chapter 2. And I think, all this stuff that I'm talking about today, I think is it's very surface level. And I think that nothing that I'm saying is a shock to anybody in this room, maybe a healthy reminder. But I think that the passage that I'm about to read is very, very important for us to be reminded of to help us focus. Titus chapter 2. But as for you, teach what accords with sound doctrine. Older men are to be sober-minded, dignified, self-controlled, sound in faith and love, and in steadfastness. Older women, likewise, are to be reverent in behavior, not slanderers or slaves to much wine. They are to teach what is good, and so train the young women to love their husbands, children, to be self-controlled, pure, working at home, kind, and submissive to their own husbands, that the word of God may not be reviled. Likewise, urging the younger men to be self-controlled, show yourself in all aspects to be a model of good works, and in your teaching show integrity, dignity, and sound speech that cannot be condemned, so that an opponent may be put to shame, having nothing evil to say about us. Right?
And what was that scripture again?
Titus chapter 2, starting in verse 1. It's a call to mentorship, right? I mean, every one of us are in leadership roles. Every one of us are in, I guess the new modern term is role of an influencer, right? Where we're spending time with people, we're engaging, and it's a call for us to not only pay attention to our own lives, for our own recovery, and for our own health and our own relationship with God, but for the purposes of others as well, so that we can be the example, you know, we play a crucial role in helping others discover their God-given purpose, right? You know, part of what I have to do, you know, is train employees and kind of do consulting work, and a lot of godly people just need to be reminded sometimes that sometimes you might be the first Bible that somebody reads. You might be their first interaction with God. What are you providing for them? You know, are you loving, long-suffering, patient, kind, gentle, respectful? How far? We need to encourage service, community involvement, worship fosters personal growth. You know, we need to encourage not only, you know, ourselves and, you know, people around this room to serve, but we need to encourage the people that we're investing into the value of serving, you know, and empowering them to take part in this aspect of their journey. Purpose is often found in helping others, mentorship, volunteering, and sharing testimonies. You know, I in my recovery journey, just so y'all know, when I was going to get 6 months sober. Okay, this is what I was going to do, and I was going to get 6 months sober at the facility, and then I was going to leave, and I was going to go back into either law enforcement or security, small firearm security work, because that's all I'd ever done. Right, is law enforcement or throwing people out of buildings. That was kind of it. And I was going to go to church on Sunday and Sunday night, Wednesday, and do a mission trip every so often was my thought. But the crazy thing was I got on the property, and then my peers kept coming to me for help and advice and doing this and doing that. And then I was asked to do stuff, and I was serving. And next thing you know, I'm we're located in Norcross and Dorville. I'm in, you know, the metropolitan area of Atlanta, doing this. I found purpose just through trying to get back into help. And I also think with not only this room, but even with the churches that we're involved in and other spiritual groups that we're involved in, it's like, you know, you don't have to know what your purpose is. Just find somewhere to help, do something, and you can find your passion. You know, where all our passions everybody's passions are different, and their purposes are different. I'm building a mission trip this year, and taking some people over there with me. And they're doing women's conferences and different things. And Ava came to me the other day. She's like, I don't know if you looked at your itinerary, but one thing you have to do is we have 3 churches coming together for a women's conference, and you men are supposed to take care of the kids. And I said, I mean, I can't do that. That's not my person. I don't know what to do. Sure. You know, you're great with kids. I was like, yeah, I was scared to death. It's not. Give me some felons. I'm good with felons. Children are terrifying. But I won't be in it alone. But you know, there are some people, their purpose is, you know, to work, you know, with children or with teens, or, you know, some of us primarily deal with women, some of us deal with men, some, you know, just like Seth said, you know, they have a real focus on sexual issues, right? You know, if that's something that you can deal with, but we don't know what God has planned for us unless we're actually engaging. So we want to help people engage. And it's just part of mentorships, developing accountability relationships, and providing faith-based resources, education, right? But I think it's very important for us to kind of keep that we're supposed to be engaging with and helping to empower and to develop the next generation, right? That is the exciting thing about CARES, because y'all, I will be one of y'all one day. I just haven't had the time. But this is y'all talking about the different generations of CARES, right? That's important, that it keeps going on and people keep investing.
You know, you mentioned that, and it's funny because I was just thinking about how, for me, like peer support is very biblical. I mean, I have, you know, done my share of mission work or community service or whatever, particularly in like neighborhoods. One thing I was always taught and did some training on was this whole concept of neighboring, and the idea of walking side by side is kind of a totally different way from where I grew up, which was, you know, really good Christian people who are showing all the other people like how it's supposed to be. Yeah. And that's not Jesus, right? It's not, let me drag you to where I think you need to go. It's let's walk side by side and learn from each other.
Exactly.
So the neighboring process is very person-centered. And I find with my peers that that's the best form of mentorship. I mean, sometimes I feel like I'm learning more from them than they are for me. It's not about me teaching, right? That whole idea of the neighbor. What does that really mean? How does that play out? I think is the essence.
Absolutely, you know, you and I think a lot alike in that, apparently think a lot alike in that regard. You know, I told people when I came up here, I said, I'm not coming to Atlanta because I'm the answer for his way or have the solutions. I'm here so I can continue growing and developing my relationship with God. Number two, y'all may or may not know this, and I'm not doing this to say this, but I believe in a Pauline Thessalonican model of recovery. So we actually, my wife and I and our kids, we moved onto the property in which we have the ministry itself. So for 3 years, we've lived in an apartment that's attached right there so that they can have 24 access to me and so that we can do that. Now, I won't be there forever. We will go get a house and do all of that, but I thought it was important to create the culture, to create those relationships and those bonds. And I think, you know, we need to be ever mindful of that. So how can we help others discover the purpose through faith, and what practical ways to engage people in meaningful service?
I think Jasmine Turner does a great job at that.
Teach us.
Yeah, definitely just working with her, being in recovery with her. I think she does a wonderful job with that. She, you know, encouraging people's testimony, you know, making like take it to the streets, and, you know, it gives the ladies that come through there and men, you know, a purpose, a sense of purpose. And that's where my purpose started and grew from there, was in that ministry.
You did a great job.
So, yeah, so I know we talked about, Jeremy mentioned, I didn't think he was gonna tell y'all that, I came up with the topic. But
Why
the
not?
reason I came up with this topic is because I thought about, the Faith to Recovery Collaboration and what, you know, their mission is and stuff. And I thought, what a great way to present this to churches at some point. Like, this is what we need as people in recovery. We need to have a purpose. We need to know that we're accepted for who we are. And, you know, and that's how we give back as well. And just little things like how I help others discover purpose through faith, or just practical ways. I do things really small because I am a female in a male dominant environment. But those little small acts of engagement, like asking for help with dinner, or like, hey, do you mind putting like the fries in, or, you know, just little things like that. I don't cook anymore. Ava cooks now, but just little things like that. Asking for help with the groceries. So also we have a little smoking area in the back, and like yesterday, two of the gentlemen were talking about a few things, and, you know, I couldn't help but tell them, like, oh, you have a very beautiful testimony. Like, somebody somewhere is waiting for you to be that one day. And just those little engagements is
A big impact.
I feel like.
Well, essentially, we had a, you know, we do, the staff comes together and we spend time in Bible at least once a week together. One of the things that I brought up, what was Jesus's first miracle? Water and wine. Right? I find it interesting. You know, if you were going to kick off a ministry, don't most people want to do something just really miraculous and big that everybody's going to hear about? He does something small. His first miracle is the little things, making sure that his mother and the person over the party are not embarrassed or shamed for running out of something. You know, it was very relational, it was very small, and he put forth his best effort, because I don't know how many of y'all have had a drink or two. But I know after, you know, a few of them that I no longer can actually taste the alcohol. And the master of the ceremonies at the end of it said, this is the best wine of the entire night. It's like, man, how good was that stuff, right? But it's the little things, right? It's, you know, taking care of the little things every single day, engaging in those and doing the little things to the best of your ability with the best effort creates the greatest outcomes. Right? So thank you. And yes, you always give credit where credit's due. She's been spending time with y'all, and I've been so grateful for that because I have not been a good friend to y'all. I've had other things to do. So I didn't know where y'all were at or what y'all were talking about. So had her pick it. Go ahead. I think that's it. Yeah, it's just summary. God has purpose for everyone. Recovery is a part of that journey. Faith provides direction in times of uncertainty and chaos. Leaders have a responsibility to empower others to find purpose through service and community. Walking in faith requires consistent spiritual growth. The challenge is to encourage each participant to take a step forward toward discovering a deeper and deepening their purpose this week. Suggest praying or talking with a mentee about their calling, you know, what their, and calling's a fancy church word, right? What are you interested in? You know, where are your passions? You know, I had a guy one time, I was teaching the Bible, and his greatest passion was tie-dyeing t-shirts. And so I tie-dyed a whole lot of t-shirts with him. Yeah, he taught me how to do it. You know, we were tie-dyeing every weekend, man, all day. You know, it's a beautiful thing. Yeah, what is your, you know, all the bands and all the different, you have to make
like wall art person.
Yeah.
yeah, it's intense. Mine always looked like hot garbage. But it was the interest and the desire. We actually had a graduation because of this guy. Everybody tie-dyed their own t-shirt. And we all wore it to his graduation. But yeah, just figure out what their interest is. You know, interesting is this great place to start with what God has designed for you.
That's like the first thing when I have take on a new peer.
Yeah.
After the first session, like assignment, did you choose to accept it? Is for them to take some time to write about what is your why. And we start with the why as a direction point for what is our relationship, you know, our peer coach relationship gonna be like. I am not a big prescriptive treatment person. Not a big prescriptive language person. You know, I want to let's work together to describe like what is your reality and what do you want to do about it.
Right.
So when we go into your why, and your why could be like, you know, I don't want to drink tomorrow, whatever. Or your why could be like something grandiose. I don't know. But I also let them know your why can change, and it's gonna change as you go along in your
Many
recovery.
times.
Yeah. And that's okay too. And we're gonna get to a certain point. Sometimes I'm like several sessions in and I'm like, I think your why has changed. You
Yeah.
want to revisit that. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's good coaching.
Yeah.
Life coaching. I couldn't, you missed it.
Oh,
I wasn't done.
I'm a bad.
Oh, yes, you were.
I'm done. I told you she's the boss. Yeah. You know, and if I want to ask you step by step, so to help someone else in their journey toward the purpose, and I appreciate you bringing up what I consider coaching. You know, I'm a certified Christian life coach and all that jazz. You know, sometimes it's not just about discovering when you have a mentee, you have somebody that you're coming alongside. It's not just helping them figure out what their interest is or what their desire is, that why part. It's like, okay, so that's there. So how do we get there? Right. And sometimes, you know, we get those things and it's hard for us to see what the next steps are, even in our own lives. And so having an outside influence could say, hey, here's some suggestions of how you can get here, that you can participate in this, you can do this, you know, what do you think? You know, and help kind of putting those steps out, you know, what's that next step that you need to take? It's, you know, I have bless my heart, I'm in my mid-40s and I've got a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, a 2-year-old.
Wow.
Yes.
God
Great.
bless you.
I need it.
That'll keep you young.
No, it will remind you how old you are every single day. I yell at people at church, hey, catch my kid. But you know, it's the same thing with them. It's helping them get to that next step, you know, when they're walking, you know, what's the next part of this process, and helping them to see it, helping them to do it. You'll appreciate this, Jasmine. My 5-year-old just lost 2 teeth. right? His first two teeth, and after the first one came out, yeah, the tooth fairy gave him 5 $1 bills. And, yeah, well, inflation.
Yeah.
Inflation has hit the tooth fairy too.
Right.
My son came back to me and he says, hey, he wanted dad to help him devise a plan on how to catch the tooth fairy because he thinks he can get more money out of it.
Oh.
So what do you think, Dad?
Goes to tooth fairy.
We started working on the next step, right? Okay, so this is what you want to do. What do you think the next step is on? Right? This is your, like, your tooth fairy happens to be 6'6", 300 pounds, but yeah, get you a trap. Let's work on it. But you know, I just want to make sure that we put that there. It's also, you know, this is also about kind of helping line this out. And it's, you know, and it's also about, I will also say this and to wrap it up. It's also about helping them discover their own faith. Does that make sense? Not just giving them our faith. I do want to put that out there. You know, they might choose to have a faith that's similar to yours. They might choose something completely different. But I think that's where the God in us comes to play, to be that mentor, to help them to discover these things and to work through it. Anyway, any final thoughts?